The best laid plans don't always work out. Vincent couldn't make it. The backup plan couldn't make it. Flying solo. This week's reading was Leviticus and Psalms. But also this week, the book added a prayer. And so we're going to begin with this week's prayer that came from the book that tells us what to read in the 52 weeks.
Dear Lord, help me find peace and prosperity in you alone. I pray that my days will be filled with joy and happiness, so that I will have the capacity to share that joy and happiness with others. Make me like the tree that has been planted by rivers of water, so that no matter what comes my way, I will continue to stand. Amen.
After the open rolls, we'll go over the questions from this week's reading, and hopefully we will all learn from this week's study. Mrs. Super Oz, what is the first question?
How do you define prosperity?
It's funny, over the years, I feel like the concept of prosperity and or success, because I see those as analogous, like things that one means very similar to the other. Because to prosper is to succeed, and if prosperity is what we're talking about, then instantly I think of success. And the funny thing is, I feel like you are the continuation, embodiment of the continuation of my mother's philosophy on succeeding. Because I, for years, would think, oh man, I haven't gotten where I want to be. And she would be like, but you did it. Like, she had all these framed pictures of me wrestling, or 8x10s that I had set up for, presumed autograph signings that basically, it happened occasionally, but not like much. And then when the first comic came out, she was like, oh man, you did it, basically. But in my mind, and you know this, I struggle to see what I have done as being successful, which means I often don't think I have prospered. However, and just this past weekend, you and I were together with a friend that I've known a long time, and we were all amused by the fact of how long it has taken us, he and I, to get to where we are right now. Because back when we were in college, we and others had this delusion, this mindset that, oh man, we're gonna hit it big, we got it all figured out. And then little by little, piece by piece, things fell apart for the small group that we had together to try and make our comic plans come to life. But that's the funny thing, is over time the idea of what is a success or what is prosperity definitely changes. And when we were talking, it's the idea that had all the ideas we were working with came out 10, 12, 13 years ago, when we were thinking we had it, we then look back, we read it, and we're like, oh, it wasn't ready yet. Like, it's the idea, or similar to the idea, of pulling food out of the oven before it's finished cooked. Like, you can do that, and you can even ingest it, but it doesn't mean that it's good, ready, or right. With that, wanting immediate success and being of the mindset or the belief that because it isn't happening miraculously or instantaneously means that, oh, it's never going to happen is ridiculous, because there are things that just take time. While, like, it even, to me, reminds me of like music artists who, after grinding for 10, 12, 15 years, people were then like, oh man, you were an overnight success with this single. And it's like, well, took me 10 years to become an overnight success. And so with that, I think the idea of prosperity comes down a lot of times to perspective. Because if you have the proper perspective, which means, am I learning? Am I growing while pursuing success? Then I think, yes, you can prosper while not yet actually getting to the place that you want to be. It actually reminds me a lot of you talking about how your regional manager sees you taking on responsibilities as time goes forward, because she sees it within you, but you don't currently see it within yourself as to being a leader. Although, as time passes, as the team grows and you gain seniority, you have noticed, and if by no other reason, necessity, you've noticed that people turn to you and seek your experience for their guidance. I think that, again, I think if you look at the growth that has happened over time and with experience, it's easier to put your eyes in the proper way of seeing prosperity as an option, or not even an option, but like that it is happening.
Yeah. It's God's purpose.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the crazy thing is, like, if we how often is it that we as people think, oh, I've got it figured out, why aren't things going my way? And yet we most likely, or almost certainly I would say, can't see the big picture. It's not just can't, we'll never be able to see the full picture, because we are not the supreme being of the universe that knows all. And yet we think for these fleeting moments that this was my plan, or this is the timetable. Yet we're completely delusional if we believe, our own hype is where it's at. And in reality, like you said, God has the plan in place and knows the right timing for everything.
I believe God's purpose for us is to be all we can be, do all we're destined to do, and have all we're destined to have.
Okay, yeah, that is a beneficial part of the way that you participate in this, because I don't know if I've said it on the channel, but the only thing I use the book for is a guide of what to read each week. I don't pre-read the questions. I don't really participate in the writer of the book's summations. I just say, oh, these are the chapters we need to read to get all of the Bible read in 52 weeks. And then everything else is just natural, whether it be my thoughts on the reading or my approach to the questions that are asked. And so I find it beneficial that you are actually reading the book, much like Vincent has read the book, so as to lend a different perspective to the conversation.
It also states here that in a scripture, John 1:2, John writes that he hopes his friend will prosper and be in good health as his soul prospers. God wants us to prosper, but what does it mean to prosper? It can mean to have economic success, to thrive, or to become strong and healthy. And I believe with all my heart, mind, and soul that it is God's will for our lives.
Mrs. Super Oz, what is the second question?
Do you consider yourself prosperous? Why or why not?
If this question had been asked, That's the funny thing. Even now, I struggle. Because to me, the concept of prosperity is very fluid as far as, am I there yet or am I not there yet? But I'll say this, I think I'm further along than I've ever been. And with that, I mean, each time that I try to achieve success, I learn something that is then applicable to garnering a new level of success, which means also prosperity. And so, while learning, I hope to be able to get to, like the part that you read, the financial success, or stability success, the get out of hard times success. Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more. But most importantly, the story itself. But as far as, let's say, prosperity when it comes to confidence and working with others, my goodness, I have prospered so much when it comes to small prayer group. I've prospered so much when it comes to reliable friendships and relationships that help garner movement in life. Like, let's talk about the idea of cultivating the relationship that I have with Jeff Hicks. If it wasn't for that relationship, you and I would have never worked, maybe not never, but would not have up until this point been financially able to work Cincinnati Comic Expo.
Right.
And the same goes with Lucas, who had said recently that when his book is funded, he would love to get together and mutually sell books together along with other local creators. And even Aaron has said on or about the idea of working together to sell, whether it's his drawings or our combined projects. And so the idea of cultivating relationships is really where that I feel like prosperity in creativity has lied for me and our working toward getting to the successful avenues we're aiming to be at. What are your opinions or thoughts on the general concept of being at or in prosperity?
In Psalm 1, the psalmist let us know that in order to position ourselves for the complete blessings of the Lord, there are certain things we must do or not do. The psalm begins with, "Blessed is the one." In other words, happy is the one, or highly favored is the one, or prosperous is the one. Note that the psalmist didn't say, blessed is the king, or blessed is the rich one, or blessed is the educated one. He said, blessed is the one, which let us know right away that the blessings are for us all. Your status.
Status, okay.
Cut that. Your status doesn't matter. Your position doesn't matter. You will be blessed if you do your part.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I feel as if doing your part means if you give back, if you
Yes.
volunteer,
Absolutely.
if you help someone that is in need.
Yeah, step up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And like I said about your occupation, the idea of stepping up, I think in your case has a lot to do with being ready and willing to help others in their growth. And by doing so, it helps you grow in your own confidence, which I think is, super cool and beneficial, because I've made the joke that from my paying job, I've tripped and fallen into leadership. But I think a lot of it comes down to just confidence in my own ability. Because it's not really like I've tripped and fallen into it, but because I carry myself in such a way as to show people that I know the answer to whatever the question may be. And here's the other thing, even when I don't know the answer, I am willing to acknowledge the fact that I don't know, but tell them I am in a pursuit to find the answer. And I think most people do tend to value that above a pretense, because I'm not pretending. If I don't know, and I tell people this too, it's like, I don't know is an acceptable answer, because there are plenty of times when you do not know. And so, yeah, I think that that's a good approach to life. What is question 3?
What would be your advice to someone seeking to be prosperous?
My easiest answer to this question, and I think that it fits in so many ways, it comes down to a simple, short sentence: do not quit. And why I say that is, whether it is learning, working out, advancing, or in my case, trying to sell comics, the surefire way to not advance in an occupation, to not lose weight, to not sell things, is to quit. Or in the case of this, the surefire way not to grow in your relationship with God is be separate. Quit. Do not read. Do not pray. And so to me, the easiest answer for getting prosperous in life, whatever the case may be, like let's say you want to write, you must write. You cannot not write. If your idea is you want to be prosperous in your relationship, any relationship, you can't stop pursuing that relationship, whether it be, a romantic relationship, a friendship, family, whatever the case may be.
Or a godly relationship.
Absolutely, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, the answer to how to prosper is you must continually move forward. If you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And so to me, that's my perspective on how you prosper, is by not quitting.
Verse 1 says, "You are blessed if you walk not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the pathway of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful." Basically, if you want to be blessed, watch whom you are connected to. Pay attention to your surroundings, and be careful of how you handle yourself while in those surroundings.
Yeah, no, I agree. So often, especially when you're young and growing up, you hear the idea of, oh, if your friend jumped off the bridge, are you going to jump off the bridge? But you can also look at it conversely. If your friends are going nowhere, perhaps you're going nowhere, right?
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. If the people you spend your time with are growing together with Jesus, there's a good chance you're going to be growing together with Jesus, because you are actively pursuing the relationship.
Yep.
And so with that, I think that it does make sense to work together with others. And that's why that, Vincent was so important to the channel. And he'll be back, don't get me wrong. It's just that he has volunteered his time for others, and in multiple ways. And so that makes it hard to get together for this project. But like I said, he'll be back, and we will continue to prosper together, because that's the beauty of the project, is we'll all work together to learn, to grow, to prosper.
And I think another way that we can connect to the prayer that we said in the beginning, it says that, okay, it says verse 3 says that these behaviors will make you like a tree that is planted by rivers of water. Think about the analogy of the tree. There are some trees with roots that go straight down into the earth, and no matter how many storms come, no matter how many hard winds blow, those trees may bend, they may even lose a few leaves, but they're still rooted and grounded. And that's how we've got to be. We've got to stay rooted and grounded in our relationship with the Lord. As long as we do, we're bound to prosper and be blessed.
Well, and here's the beautiful thing about that. The the idea of the tree analogy is so beneficial because when it comes to prosperity, there are definitely arguments to be made that when you see that a branch is dead, you must separate it from the living tree so that it doesn't get infected. It's the idea of like putting rotten fruit next to healthy fruit.
Yep.
The rotten fruit will eat away at the healthy fruit. And so, no, I think that makes a very clear illustration of the way that we ought to cultivate our relationships with others is to ensure that those relationships are healthy and keeping us all going in the correct direction so as to not fall prey to, living in rot, basically.
And negativity.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the basics of what I was theorizing as far as rot is negativity, yeah.
And bring the positive and grow together and Jesus together.
Yeah. So I don't know how many of these will be without a guest, but I think that this is proof positive that you and I can do it
We can do it.
this way because, as I like to say, the show must go on, and consistency is key to the pursuit, whatever it is. In this case, in the argument, the pursuit of growing the channel, right? Consistency is important. And so, yeah, I appreciate you helping me make this happen, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Come back all week and forevermore.